Okay, so a very warm welcome to each and everyone who's watching this video. I'm Pritam Bhadra. I'm a motivator and a millennial leadership speaker. I'm the founder of VisionX Training Systems. So I've trained students across the length and breadth of this country, and I've trained more than 3,000 students. I've also been a global learning consultant, where I've consulted CEOs, managing directors, top-level managers across the globe with more than 150 countries. So today with ourselves, we have Commander Raja Narayanaswami. So he's having more than 25 years of experience of military cum industrial leadership experience in technology, process, and people management. He holds 4 more years of experience in e-commerce fulfillment, working with Amazon. So Commander Raja is actually an astute leader with the ability to motivate subordinate in optimizing their performance level. So thank you so much, Commander Raja, to join in.
Thank you very much, Pritam. This is such a pleasure talking to you. Somebody as passionate and as invested in you, in youngsters and their development. Always very, very happy to see such energy and such commitment. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. So we'll start with your journey because you've been into the Navy for such a long time. You have risen to the position of a commander. So how it got started? I mean, is it something pre-planned? Is there anyone who is there in your family that you got inspired from, or how was it like, or was it accidental? Please, if you could explain me from the start.
Okay. Yeah. So. Looking back, it just seems like a dream. So I was the first in my family to join the armed forces. So never before anybody ventured into this. We were largely a family of bankers and government students, government servants. I beg your pardon. And I was like any other high school student growing up in Chennai, pursuing my IIT coaching, because way back in the 90s, that was the only thing. Being an IITian or an engineer or a doctor was the in thing. But yeah, like I said, as I was doing the coaching, I realized 6 months into that coaching that it called for a kind of hard work and commitment, and the I had the ability, but I didn't quite have the flair, and I didn't see myself doing that kind of a job or a career in life. So I wanted to do something different, and that's what kickstarted this journey. And basically, it was just to show the world that hey, I'm doing something different. The way it works with peers, etc. So that's how I finally landed up one fine day in the Naval Academy. Serendipity, you can call it. You can call it a matter of chance. It's only when I landed up at the SSB interview way back in, I think, April of '91 in Bhopal, that's when I realized that what I was taking it quite lightly. It was something that people gave their arm for. There were people from Sainik schools, military schools, backgrounds who had taken it upon themselves to get forces. That's when I realized the importance or the prestige of what I was getting into, and as luck would have it, I got selected. I joined the academy. Yeah, so to answer your question, like I said, it was serendipity, it was a matter of chance. But looking back, it's been a fantastic journey. And whatever I am today, wherever I am stationed in life today, it is all because of the armed forces, the Navy, what it taught me, where it brought me.
Amazing. So, till this stage, we share the same experience and same journey. To be very honest, I was kind of a guy who had no dreams, no vision. But I realized this one thing. I used to see these Navy ships. I used to have fighter jets rolling over the skies because I was placed in Kharagpur. So Kharagpur, you have the Kalaikunda Air Force Base. So yeah, so all these things really fascinated me. The uniform, the charm, because from school days only I was in Scout and Guides. So I remember in class 10th we represented our school in the regional division and we won the first prize out of it. So that actually motivated me a lot in order to get into it. The pride, the aura, the exposure it gives was amazing. I could never imagine that compared to a corporate world. I started applying. I went to the Naval Selection Base Center in Coimbatore. Okay, and it was amazing journey. The first time a guy who never traveled 100 kilometers to Kolkata was traveling 2,850 kilometers from Kharagpur to the railway station of Coimbatore. It was such an amazing journey. First time ever in my life. I remember at 4 a.m. I got up. I was all dressed up. I went to the center. I won't say center. It was in the station only. They come and you have to show the call letter and everything. And I could see a huge crowd. I was shocked, to be very honest. I saw this huge crowd in front of me, and so much of competition is there lying ahead in front of me. How can I clear this? There are people who are taller than me. There are people who are having this army cut, who are having this, they are doing gym and all the all the muscles are pumped up. I questioned this one thing to myself. Am I in the right place even? I mean, or it's just a dream, it's better, there's no point of traveling so much and coming to this place looking at these people. Then I said one thing, hey, shut up, Pritam. I mean, you have come this long way. You're dreaming this from a long time. It's time to deliver the best. Because I don't think, because there's nothing to compare here. Every officer, everything is unique. They select you based on those 25 test 5 days span, and there's so much uniqueness every single person has. I got started. So from those, 200, 300 people, from a bunch of guys, we got into 28 people. And to be very honest, all those people, with those army cut, they were not in. Made me realize of what we are capable of inside. And it's not something that to be how you look from outside does not determine what kind of person you are from inside. And that's what Navy taught me on my first selection center. It was the second day. I was in all suited up. I was having tea and biscuit at 5 p.m. I remember, and I was just reflecting on that. That was the first lesson ever I had, and from that time I changed to a very focused guy, and a guy with an aim to do something. Now I was in love with the charm and the aura, and those boards used to have with the Navy ships and the taglines written on. Amazing experience. So that's how I continued my journey till that last we were there. Though I was not selected, but I remember I made friends of a lifetime, and they always said this one thing I remember, because after that only I started believing that you can transform yourself. You leadership and every skills that is there, right? It is a transformational skill. I mean, you can transform yourself. Because I remember the Navy officer on last day, on the fifth day, after the conference was done, he came and he said, we never say that we reject you. What we say is we don't recommend you now. That doesn't mean that you won't be recommended after 6 months or after in a year. It's just that your ability is not up to the mark according to what we have judged you. You can transform, and if you have the will, any of you, if you have the will, okay, and if you are not selected today, go back, reflect on yourself, come back again. We will be pleasure to have you on board and select you as an officer. And this is what I learned, that learning exposure, that's what Navy taught me in the first year of my college, in this first experience. So that's when I transformed from a hopeless kind of a guy to a very focused guy. So I would like to share two of my learnings here. The first thing was the ability to reflect. Today's young generation gets so much busy in their instant gratification in the social media and XYZ things, that they have no time to reflect. I mean, what they are capable of, what is their weak point, their strengths. If you don't know this, how will you play it forward? I mean, they used to ask me, Pritam, what you're good at or what you're not good at. It's okay to accept that I am not good at public speaking. That's perfectly fine, because when you know that you're not good at something, that's when you take the next step. If you don't know where you stand, how will you take the next step? And the second thing that I learned from the officers, sir, is the ability to observe and learn. I remember I was in the outdoor tasks, the fifth day tasks that we have, and I was doing some mistakes. And the officer noticed that, and I was fairly doing well, but at the end I was doing some mistakes. He came to me, he pat my back, and he said, Pritam, you're doing good. But you know what? You have to observe others, your team members, and then learn from it. Because when you are in the battlefield, nobody will come up like me and pat your back and say, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. You have to see of how your colleagues are doing, of how your team members are doing, and based on that you have to apply your strategy, apply your skills. These are the two skills that have helped me greatly and applied in everything that I do. Even to be very honest, even in this conference as well, sir, I'm applying that. That's how I got you on board, I got many people on board. The ability to learn, reflect, and observe, that's the key. So that's how my journey was for the first experience. Yeah.
Thank you, Pritam, for I think identifying some of those core values, and they surely ring a bell and are very motivational for anybody who is looking to join the armed forces as well as imbibe those values in their life. Personally, like I said, I was completely from a so city street, from a civilian background. I was overweight. I was just out of school, but I was thrust into that situation where I realized that I was way out of my comfort zone. Uh, But then one thing which I learned there is, look, I mean, if I go back from here, there is never going to be, I'm never going to get this opportunity again. So let me go ahead and try this, which has been my attitude with life. Every time I've been put out of my comfort zone, I have sort of stuck it out there, and it does not require any kind of superhuman skills. So that's what I think. One of the important lessons which the army and the armed forces taught me is that there is never anything that is impossible. It's only a matter of the effort and the ability to kind of stretch yourself and get things done. The other important piece, and starting from SSB, which I imbibed, was like you brought out clearly, like you had a bunch of friends and they were, you formed relationships for life. Some of those guys who I met in that SSB, who cleared with me, they are my own buddies, and we grew up in the service together. It's been about 25, 26 years of lifelong friendship and camaraderie. So those are some things which you really, really looked up to and remember very, very fondly. Yeah. So thank you for igniting some of those memories and bringing them back to life.
I can see the smile and understand how you are reflecting to it. The same case with me, sir. So, to be very honest, like after the SSB and all, I was dreaming to get into the Indian Naval Academy, Ezimala in Kerala. But as we discussed earlier, for your case, it was in the Naval Academy in Goa. So, if you could
Yes.
describe that, how was your experience seeing the gates, that army, the Navy truck you went through the academy, and how was your journey, the whole process of into the getting to become an commissioned officer?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Like I said, yeah, it was in the July of '91 that I landed up in the Naval Academy, and I remember Naval Academy Goa was on top of a hill, and like you said, there was a three-tonner which was there to pick us up cadets from the. There used to be a jetty on which the ferry used to travel, and we used to come to the other side. So there was this bus in which we were supposed to get into and go to the academy. So my mom had come and my father had come to drop me there, and they were not allowed to, further come with us.
Yeah.
So my mom distinctly remembers this, and I don't have any, strong memories of that. It was as if like I got into the bus and I didn't look back. My mom was waiting for me to see whether this guy turns back, says bye, but she tells me today that no, you didn't turn back, and I think that is reflective of my own journey, that I never looked back from that moment. The academy itself was fantastic. The academy is what we call the cradle of leadership, and all of the military academies, whether it's the National Defense Academy, whether it's the Officer Training Academy, or the IMA, or the Naval Academy, what they essentially do is to pick up youngsters from this street and convert them or transform them into officers capable of leading men. So 3 years of military training of the academy turned me from that schoolboy that I was into a leader of men. I was a greenhorn, young, cocky adolescent, like I said. When I joined the academy, I had never run more than 50 meters while in Chennai, even for a bus in those days. I was overweight, I was oversized, I was oversmart, very cocky. And 3 years of the academy boot camp, as they say, sorted me nice and proper, physically, mentally, any which way. Just to give you a sense of what it was like. Uh, by the end of the first couple of months at the Naval Academy, I was running about 10 to 12 kilometers with ease. And by my second term, I was running about 24 kilometers with full scale FSMO outfit with the rifle. Uh, as far as swimming goes, I was a dead sinker. Chennai, we had these water issues, so there's no question of learning swimming. So I went from being what we call a dead sinker to being a reasonably decent swimmer. I did the mandatory 10-meter jump in the academy. And later on in life, when we served on ships, we were asked to jump from the forecastle of the ship, which is right in front. It's a 10 to 12-meter jump. And we jumped there in abandoned ship drills, etc. So the point I'm making is, uh, you know, uh, the academy prepares you physically and mentally for challenges that lie ahead. It stretches your physical limits, it stretches your mental limits, so much so that you start believing in yourself that nothing is impossible. And that is the key to, being a great leader, that you lead from the front and you are able to inspire your team that nothing is impossible. As they say, the difficult we immediately do, the impossible takes just a little longer. Later in life, I was in a small missile boat. Uh, which was in sea state 3 to 5, the boat would be tossed around like a paper boat in the high seas. We used to have these buckets kept in the alleyways for us because some of us would vomit due to seasickness. And in the sea, when the sea is rough, anything that you eat, you tend to throw up. And it's a little difficult even on the rainy nights when you're standing on upper decks keeping watch, or repairing some equipment, hanging on to dear life with the safety string on the main mast when you're trying to get a radar repaired or a communication antenna repaired. That's the time you kind of ask yourself, is this what I signed up for, and is this what I wanted to do in my life? And then the voice inside tells you that, dude, you've done worse stuff before, this is nothing. And you move on relentless. I think that is the essence of military training. There is muscle memory. There is by sheer practice and repeating a particular thing, they make you so proficient at any of the activities. Like we say, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. One sets very exacting standards for oneself, physically, mentally, emotionally. So when the opportunity comes, you are able to deliver without fail as a professional, and you are able to have your team deliver results without fail. Physical fitness, I've always believed, is a key to that confidence. So I recommend very strongly to all youngsters today that the physical activity of any kind is very important, because you could pick up a game, you could go for a run, swim, join a gym. It makes you feel a lot better about yourself, and the kind of self-confidence that it gives you in your road to meeting challenges and addressing your career aspirations. The other aspect which military training taught me, apart from those professional and physical aspects, is the fact that personal grooming, etiquette, and communication is super important. So how to dress well, how to eat correctly, how to speak correctly, uh, and that is important because you are leading men. At about 18 or 19 years of age, I had people looking up to me, and it becomes very crucial that I earn their trust, I gain their confidence, and that can only happen when they see that confidence in my eyes. Whether we like it or not, people judge you. You get judged by the way you look, you speak, and communicate. So that is another lesson that I have carried, that 80% of your effectiveness as a leader is a function of how you communicate and what is your body language. It's not about wearing expensive designer wear or sounding very flowery in terms of speaking English. It's just about how you are gathered yourself, what's the kind of posture you have, whether you have a groomed hair, whether your shoes are polished, whether you're wearing clean garments. It's the small things that matter. The big things fall into place. So yeah, so that's the story of the academy, and like I said, it's a cradle of leadership and the first stepstone to a very fruitful professional career.
Amazing. I mean, what I feel is, rather than even going to an IIT, IIM, or any organization, or any, I would say, in fact, any institute, I'd love to go to a naval institute, an army institute, and learn from that. I mean, that would have taught me everything and would have prepared me for the whole life, not only for the corporate world. I mean, each and everything, and apply those principles and learn from it. So, one amazing thing I noted, sir, that you were a part of a missile board. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So I was so passionate. I did all my research and everything. Like I knew Navy. I mean, top down everything. I remember how crucial role the missile boats played in the 1971 war, blowing
I'm
up.
so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I mean,
Operation Trident, yes.
Operation Trident, right? At the midnight, and how those ships used to go, and they used to keep their radar off, and they used to communicate. And even one ship was not able to come back, so the ship was tied back to another missile boat, and they came back. And how they burned the Karachi, and the Karachi port, and all the ships with the oil tankers and everything was burning for 4 days. And that's how the Indian Navy got back and showed that the Navy has the power. It's not just something a boat that's meandering, over the seas. It's something, a force, a recon force who can actually not only see the vision but deliver. And missile boats, seeing very small but very agile, very very small kind of a thing, but actually has a great potential. And I think that was the first time, even when surface to air missiles were actually used for surface to surface to attack those tankers.
Yes. No, thank you, Pritam. I think some of what you mentioned from the slices of Indian military history, they are giving me goosebumps as I speak. Not just because they are great memories of a great heritage, military heritage that we have, but also the fact that you appear to be one of the few people who are actually keenly interested in our military history and what our armed forces have achieved. I say this because one thing that we notice is while our youngsters of today they know where San Jose is, or where Seattle is, or where San Francisco is, where the headquarters of the Googles and Facebooks of the world are. If you ask them where Siachen is, perhaps they wouldn't know. So the knowledge of the armed forces, the kind of work they do, is very, very limited in our general, larger population. So it is very refreshing to see being aware of some of these things. And thank you. And please continue to spread the good word, because for a country's armed forces, nothing is more important than the country's population recognizing their effort and
Correct.
respecting them for it. Yeah.
To be
Thank
very
you so
honest,
much.
sir, if you discuss about spreading the word about armed forces and the rich history throughout my BTech, like from the first semester, first day to the last day of my BTech, that's what was always on my every single time anybody would ask me, I would really give an answer compared to what I would have done if I would have been an officer. I also learned the way you can trick people by the way you make strategies, and that I learned from the 1971 war from the history is there was one ship. I don't remember that submarine that was from the Karachi, but that was the only submarine that was capable enough to come to the Bay of Bengal, and it was
Ghazi.
hunting. Sorry.
You're talking about PNS Ghazi.
PNS Ghazi, yes, right. PNS Ghazi, the only submarine of the Pakistani Navy ship that they were trying to hunt the INS Virat. Am I right?
Vikrant.
Sorry, yeah, INS Vikrant, correct. INS Vikrant. And I remember in the Vishakhapatnam port, yes, in the Vishakhapatnam port, they had all the supplies and all the tons and equipments and everything lined up just to show that INS Vikrant will be coming here so that they can trap that submarine. But however, strategically, Navy, sent INS Vikrant far off in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and that's how we fooled them. And I remember there was one ship that was tracking guarding the vicinity of the area of coast. And at that point of time, they intercepted a submarine and they fired the depth charges. And I think that's how the submarine, was attacked. And I feel those evidences are still there, isn't it, sir?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think you covered it beautifully. So the key part about military strategy is about the element of surprise, the element of stealth, and this was a classic copybook operation where we fooled the enemy into believing that Vikrant was in Vishakhapatnam and Ghazi came all the way around the coast of India to the other side hunting for Vikrant, while Vikrant was safe in the Andamans. And eventually Vikrant, played a key part in the liberation of Bangladesh. Yes, I'm so happy that you know all of this naval history.
I loved them. I mean, I not only learned from them. See, the first thing I learned was observe and learn, and that's what I learned from the text, the history, and I applied that. So one more thing I want to ask you, sir, about your experience being a cadet in the ship, because we generally look up to for because when I was planning to get into the Navy, I wanted to become a flying officer. I want to fly the MiG 29K version. I want
Wow.
to put jets in the Vikramaditya, in the Virat, then after that in the Vikramaditya. But however, as luck would prevail, but I never had the chance because of my problem in my eyesight. But I think that's fine for me because what I've learned is what I'm delivering now. So generally, if you see in the Navy, the mothership as we call the vessels. So everybody plans to go there, or there is it's like a city flowing in the seas. But however, you went into something that is a missile boat. So how was your experience in going through that small boat? Because I'm sure it won't give you the facilities the way a big ship would have given you. What you learned from doing all the activities that a cadet should go through. So what did it teach
Okay.
you, sir?
Okay. Small correction. So I spent about over 10 years on different warships of the Navy, which include a missile boat and the destroyer and a tanker and different classes of ship. What happens is after you finish your academy basic training, you go on to what we call the one training squadron, or we have a bunch of ships which are exclusively for training as sea cadets. So where we spend 6 months on board as sea cadets who practically run the ship, which means we painted the decks, we scrubbed the floor, we did maintenance routines on equipment, we learned how to navigate the ship, we operated the ship's board, we did exercises with other ships of the Navy, whether it is weapon firing, replenishment at sea, whether it is entering, leaving harbor. All of those activities we learned, and we were a bunch of 92 sea cadets in that particular batch where we did this. Uh, in terms of our lifestyle on board, we were called the lowest forms of marine life. So you can imagine how tough the life would have been. Our fresh water routine on board was restricted. We used to get 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening. We used to have basic food, which was similar to what our the junior most sailor in the ship used to have. We were in the process of learning and imbibing everything that the Navy had to offer, and even the junior most ranked sailor would teach us how to do our job well, knowing fully well that we would be transforming into leaders in the months and years to come. You would eat what they would eat. No job was considered menial. We would clean the dining halls, we would wash the floor, we used to clean our own plates. So there was this great inside joke which I want to share with you. So we used to say, breakfast mein kya hai? So we used to say dal and bread. Dinner mein kya hai? Bread and dal. And sometimes we would give clear creative twist to these. Ki dal bhi hai, bread bhi hai. And when people got one chicken piece a week, you learn to celebrate because it was all about roughing it out there. And at the end of the passing out parade, and on the day of the passing out parade in the ship in Kochi, one gets promoted to the rank of a midshipman. And as we step out of the ship, every single instructor, every single crew member who has been instrumental in training you and shaping you up to the level that you've reached, they stand on the holodeck and they salute you. It is an exhilarating moment where you actually earned the respect of all of those who've been instrumental in grooming you by being just one among them. You've lived with them, you have learned with them. So this is absolutely, as I this is great. This is a lesson, life lesson for me. And I'm getting emotional even as I say this. And one thing I learned from that is, there is no option for leaders but to get your hands dirty, roll up your sleeves, and learn at any stage of life. This is the only way to understand your teams, understand your workforce. As a leader, one needs to know what is the complexity of the job involved, what are the intricacies, and doing it yourself is the fastest way to learn. By doing so, not only do you learn professionally, but in terms of developing a relationship with your team, a trust level with your team, you're able to strike a chord, and then they will work magic for you. I always say this to folks who talk to me, that remember, your team doesn't work for you, they work with you, and that is the spirit that you imbibe with them. So far as relationships go, I told you earlier, fantastic relationships you form in adversity. The toughest of times, you form the guys who sweat and bleed with you are the ones who will stand by you in life. One learns to treasure some of these relationships, invest in these real life relationships. So when I look around me today, I see Instagram friends, Facebook friends, and I see Twitter friends. I don't know whether these are people who will really stand up to you when you really require them. I think these are life lessons one teaches you. And even today, when I'm in the corporate sector, I'm just carrying forward that legacy. I'm only applying those principles which I learned in that tenure.
Amazing, sir. What a journey. I mean, to be very honest, it's not only you getting the getting emotional, because I am also getting goosebumps of having that passion. I mean, I lived my college life just for the sake I could get into the Navy. That was the reason. I was all clear that I don't do a BTech because I want to become a technical engineer or something. No, that was not the thing. I remember there are technical officers being recruited into the Navy, and there is a seat for my branch, and it's time for me to get into that. That was the only motive for me to get into that. So amazing. I mean, I am really getting goosebumps. An amazing discussion that we are having, such a charged up discussion. Thank you so much. So would like to know, like, you are in now Amazon and such a big company, and you have hundreds and thousands of people under working you, and such a great responsibility. So what do you have to say about honing your skills? Because if you see now, there's so many things that we can invest our time on. But according to you, should we also focus on the thing that we're not that good at, or something that we are generally good at, and we should hone that skill to a level where it shines and people get attracted to it. What is your take on that?
That's an interesting question, and this is something that I have frequently thought about, because when I transitioned from my armed forces career to the military, to the corporate career, clearly this was a completely new world. There were skills that one had never worked on before. While one did carry the leadership experience and soft skills and all of that, the way the corporate world worked is completely different. So whoever people are people, Pritam, at the end of the day. Like I said, if you invest in relationships, if you are genuinely interested in the welfare of the team, if you know your job well, that is the secret to success. But one thing that I always feel that is important, that we tend to focus on where our weaknesses are. So let's say your child is excellent with you know painting or music or something else, but he's not so good at maths. Our educational system, the way we focus on is, hey, do maths, do maths, do maths. uh, Remember, what will take you to heights of success is stuff that you're good at. There will always be stuff that you are good at. There is stuff that you are average at, and the stuff that you absolutely suck at and you cannot possibly do to save your life. For example, if you ask me to sing, I can't sing to save my life. But
Yeah.
I obviously can't have a career in singing. But which basically means I need to focus on what I am good at, because that is my opportunity to play on the front foot and hit the ball out of the park, as it were. So one thing which I always tell people is that while you work on your developmental areas, while you work on your areas of opportunity and bring them up to a certain level, that they don't pull you down. But the key is to invest in your strengths. So let me give you an example. Like I told you, I had never run 50 meters before I joined the academy. Yeah. So I was never a great sportsman, but I was never great at PT or cross country in the academy. But like they say, इज्जत से निकल जाते थे. One worked hard on it. One made sure that one cleared their tests on time, and you never gave your squadron or your formation an opportunity to get embarrassed because of you. So that level of competency and that level of expertise, one did work on those areas. But I was good with writing, and I put that skill to good use. I became a core member of the editorial team of the academy journal. We had a bunch of people who used to write well, and our job was to put together an impressive journal at the end of each term. I rose to being a chief editor of that magazine by the time I passed out, and I was frequently called upon by different people to put my writing skills to good use. So one used to write a few speeches here and there. One used to, write articles for that magazine. So the key, like I said, is to invest in stuff that you're good at. Smart people always play on their strengths. That's one. The other bit is, make excellence an habit. A lot of youngsters today, fall into the trap of, okay, when I get the chance, when I go into that interview, that is my chance to talk about things that I'm good at, and then I will deliver. I think your life is a practice session. Your life is a playground for you. You don't know when life will throw you opportunities and whether you will be in a position to grab them. Like I said, life will give you chances which will not come at a place and time of your choosing. So the muscle memory, the readiness is key. So the key is to stay current, stay invested, have the ability to make intelligence conversations on subjects in your professional space and your chosen area of interest. You need to be updated at what you are good at. Today, very unfortunate, I don't see people, youngsters particularly, they don't read newspapers. They probably don't know what's going around in the world. They're very internally focused. My worldview is that it is important to have an opinion, a point of view. It may be on one side, it could be the other side. You could take a middle path, whatever you choose to do, but it is way different than indifference. If you don't have an opinion on things, it shows that you're clearly not invested in your ecosystem. And given the fact that these are youngsters who are going to be the future of our country, and they're going to decide a lot of things, the way the country shapes up in the future, it is super important that they are aware of what is happening around them. It could be politics, it could be sports, it could be global warming, any subject that interests them. They need to get themselves invested in. That's that. The other piece which I learned is that your success as a leader uh, is not just about your own individual glory and achievements and your ability to deliver your metrics and deliverables. It is always the team. As they say in the Navy, when the tide rises, all the ships rise. And when the tide falls, all the ship falls. So you can't be a winning member of a losing team.
True.
Or you
Yeah.
can't be a losing member of a winning team. So you are bound at the hip in terms of being together. And we always say, we have this famous shipboard motto which we talk about in the armed forces, that the country comes always first in every time. The second is your team, and your own personal, interests and glory comes last. So this is something that I have actually believed in, and this is something that one has practiced even in Amazon. And luckily for Amazon, I found myself this great company which brings in similar values as what I imbibed in the armed forces. They've given me a fantastic opportunity to lead teams, and when I joined them, in the first about 1 month, I was put into a warehouse supporting the Diwali sale. And Diwali sale, as you know, is a great event for
Yeah.
all e-commerce companies. So I was in the middle of a warehouse, pushing carts, picking up boxes, keeping stuff into the various bins, packing individual pieces. So, like I said, rolled up my sleeves, and started learning all over again. I think that is the key to success. Whatever profession you choose to do, the key is to actually learn, start from the basics, go bottoms up, and then find your way. And I'm sure success is around the corner when you do that.
Amazing, sir. So, I mean, going through your journey of transforming, see, I mean, I have seen this one thing. There's some organizations across the world which we want to work for, like whether it's Facebook, Google, Amazon. They have a different kind of work culture that we can relate to the way we have in the armed forces. I won't say it very similar to that, but yes, I can actually relate to that. But there's one thing, there are people who get into jobs who do BTech, who are doing the engineering, who are doing their masters. They do it because they think that they will get employed out of it, and they do get employment also. But they call me. I have seen my juniors, I have seen my batchmates calling me, and they ask me, Pritam, I feel the lack of purpose. I mean, I'm doing something, I'm on a bench, I'm in front of a computer, I'm in front of a laptop, doing the same thing again and again, again and again, slogging every day 10 hours, but I don't feel that, that passion, that commitment. And I want to do something else. What will you suggest them, and what will you suggest those who are just in the college days, who just thinks that, the at the fourth year the placement will happen, and I will get to the placement, I'll get a company, and that's all. To be very honest, that's how everything has changed. Placements across the whole globe is now in a jeopardy situation, whether it's IIT, IIM, any organization. So what do you have to say from them who feel that lack of purpose in their work? And maybe there's something, they are skilled enough in something else, whether it's communicating, the way you said, in writing, in articulating facts, your thoughts, particularly in front of people. You're having your opinion, whether it's arts, whether it's dance. So what do you have to say about them? Because they feel that these kind of career choices are very difficult and takes a long time, and most of them are not successful in their career, and eventually they don't make money out of it and get back to their normal job.
Okay, very interesting question, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to respond. The first thing I want to tell them is, if you're not clear about what you want to do in life, even as you are finishing your high school, or even if you are into engineering, you're not alone. I think all of us go through a phase where we are this assembly line talent that, I am doing something because Sharmaji's son is doing, or Guptaji's daughter is doing, and the neighbors is doing.
Indeed.
So we all follow that assembly line path. And in India, particularly, 90% of us end up doing engineering before deciding to do what we want to do with their life. So I want to tell them that, look, it's not unusual. It is not at all, uh, uh, it's not a bad thing not to be clear. So that's the first start point. The way I see this is, look, we invest about what, 18 years in education. You start at about 3 4, and you, by the time you finish your degree, you're 22 23. So there's about 18 years of education. The work life ahead is close to what, 50 plus years. With increasing longevity, one tends to work for half a century. Now, the way I would be seeing this is, look, if I want to be happy for those 50 years, going to office day after day, coming back, being invested in what I'm doing, seeing the bigger picture, how I'm transforming lives, how am I making an impact to society. if I want to be happy in those 50 years, then I must do stuff in those 50 years which I am really, really passionate about, or which gives me happiness. The 18 years of education needs to flow from that 50 years to say that, okay, I want to do this in life, and therefore to get there, this is what I want to study. Unfortunately, a lot of us have got into this rat race about, okay, I want to get into this institution, I want to get into that institution, which will give me a minimum guarantee. I know that, okay, if I do a decent engineering from a decent engineering college, there is a minimum guarantee that I will get. Unfortunately, human beings are not bank balances or financial investments that one looks for minimum guarantees. We do more research to buy a car or a bike than we do research about what we want to do with life, and that's the
Very
sad
true.
reality today.
Very true.
So,
Yeah.
so for me, one is, for everybody has an inherent talent, everybody has a calling in life, and one needs to keep asking oneself that question. And today, especially, with all this liberalization, social media, internet, globalization of the world, uh, opportunities galore. I think sitting in India, we can do some work, freelancing work for people who are anywhere in the globe. So distances don't matter, your language skills don't matter. All you need is ability to do a job and do a good job of it. So the way I'm seeing the future of work transform, the reality is today, what you are studying today, and the kind of work you're going to do, the kind of work you're going to do hasn't even been invented yet, especially for those in the technology sector.
Yeah.
So the key is not to accumulate degrees. The key is not just to, run academic qualifications, but to invest in skills, invest in competencies. Right. So I can give you an example about my own son, who's just finished. He's in second year of college today, and even he was in this eighth or ninth. He wanted to do a musical career, and he wanted to pursue music as a full-time profession. Now in India, you can understand what kind of a uncertain, quote unquote, and uncanny career that is. People always, like to strum the guitar or play the piano or keyboard as a side, and take that as a hobby. But here was somebody who wanted to do this. As parents, we did realize that if somebody like him, who's been skilled on that instrument for 8-10 years, and who has the confidence to go ahead and, he's passionate about it, go ahead and stick his neck out and say he wants to do this, who else will do this? So
Yeah.
we supported him, and today he's in the second year of college, and he's super passionate, super invested. He can sit 6 to 8 to 9 hours in the night and compose something for himself. I'm sure he wouldn't have been as passionate doing maths or trigonometry or engineering drawing. So the point I'm making is, the level of commitment, the level of interest that you bring is directly proportional to the passion that you bring to the table on a certain thing. So all it requires for individuals is to look within, find that seed of that seed which will give you that happiness, and water it with all the academic skills and competencies which will help them flower into a great career. So yeah, I think the opportunities are there. Today the world is, like they say, an oyster, and there is so much to do out there, unconventional careers, and people make money in all kinds of things. And it's not about making money. Like I said, 50 years you can't just be surviving on making money. So the passion needs to drive this, and the ability to see the big picture and change the world. And that's what I would advise youngsters of today to do.
Right, sir. I mean, even I get asked. I had this idea. I mean, when I lost my, I won't say lost, but I was not now more eligible to get into the air wing, or I would say into the naval aviation. Then I thought, what should I? That was one of the lowest points that I had. But then I realized there are skills that I have inculcated during this process, which are non-technical. But at the same time, people appreciated that throughout my BTech life. Then why can't I work on them? Then I slowly, with time, I realized, then why not? I mean, I can be a speaker, I can be a professional speaker. Why not to pursue that? People said that, wow, that's a great idea. I mean, I also have some dreams, XYZ. So everybody has their dreams and all, but it's only when you start executing them, you start seeing results, and it is one step at a time. You can't build a whole bridge thinking that in 1 year I'm going to build the bridge, I'm going to be an amazing speaker or a musician. That's never going to happen. So I have seen this one thing, that we are, I mean, this generation specifically, we have a lot of dreams, and everybody's having dreams. But the thing is, they really appreciate also those who take the risk and do stuff, and they know that they are going to be successful based on their passion and all. But people are in their own cocoon, in their own circle of comfort so much that they are hardly ready to bear the neck out and do that stuff which they're planning to do. And I fear that in the age of 50 and 60, when they're at the end of their whole journey of the human race, they will regret that. This is, I think, this is what is happening now, even, sir. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think like I said, we live in the world of social media. So others likes and others super likes, and the acknowledgement from the society around us about what we are doing. There is a reaffirmation that's become an integral part of our life. Whenever the current generation, particularly when I do something, I look over my shoulder whether somebody is appreciating me. It's an inherent need, this need for social recognition, and that manifests in our social media space. Now, what I want to tell the youngsters of today is, uh, any journey towards a career is a solo journey, which means you are the best person who is in a position to judge what is it that you want to do with your life. There will be people who will advise you, who will guide you, uh, but at the end of the day, it's a solo yatra, as I said. You have to listen to that inner calling, right? So whether you want to take a break and travel the world around for a year, or you want to do that MBA or get married or start a new company, the key is to back your instinct. And something that I believe truly, nobody ever achieved greatness in this world by following the crowd. The key is to believe in your idea. If you are of an entrepreneurial streak, you believe you have an idea that will work, uh, you must put your step forward and go ahead with it. There is never going to be that perfect moment. There will never be that perfect moment where everything falls into place and then you dive. The key to success is the ability to take that calculated risk, jump into that unknown, and swim your way out of trouble. You will fail, you may fall by the wayside, but the key is to fail fast, learn, and move on to the next one. The better you are able to do this, the better will be the ability to take charge of your life and make a difference in the society that you're living. And the same people who said, hey, you can't do this or this will not work, they will be the same guys who will come and appreciate you and say, hey, I knew that you would, do great things in life. So it's never going to be others' opinion that needs to decide what you want to do with life. Otherwise, you will become, or you will remain a conformist ever, always in life. So the key for us is to believe in what we want to do. I left the Navy at the peak of a career, even before the seventh pay commission was coming. But I said, okay, I've done 20 years. Let me move on and try doing something else. I left all, and 20 years in the Navy is a stage in your career where you give up a lot of perks and amenities and all of those hangovers. So one moved out from there and jumped into the corporate career and started from scratch. So the ability to, like I said, break free from all of these trappings and truly invest yourself in what you want to do, I think is the key to success.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I think this is what is actually needed rather than having, following the crowd. Because what I feel is when you follow the crowd, you end up where the crowd is, and that gets you nowhere ultimately. You want people to focus on you, or if you want to feel good, if you want to look the world from your own perspective, then you have to take the chance to walk alone. And definitely when people take the chance to walk alone, it's not going to be a very well metalled road. It's going to be a rough patch. It's going to be a lot of problems, storms coming up. There's not going to be street lights all the time. You won't find water all the time. You won't have petrol in your car say the same time. You won't have everything, because that's not where the crowd is, and hence all these facilities are not there for sure. You want to go ahead with the crowd.
I'm going to use your flying passion to this. I'm going to say hashtag fly solo is the key.
Hashtag flying solo is the key. Very true, very true. Very true. And I think that's what I am also trying to do here with VisionX Training Systems. So I started this idea of VisionX Training System in 2019 with an objective to train college students and professionals in the corporate. So just graduated now, going into the corporate, and how can they develop the leadership skills. I was discussing with a very with a technical guy who's having a leadership experience of almost 12 to 15 years. And he said to me, Pritam, when I go to recruitment in colleges, it's not just about how I look into them about their technical skills. To be very honest, these technical skills that we use on our onboard systems, I can train them within 3 months. That's not a big problem. The problem is, can that person have that kind of right mindset that I'm looking for? Can that person have that ability to communicate among the team members, take the responsibility, take those initiative things, which are the key, which will help make my team bonded together and help the project get done. Because a project is not just based on individual, it's about the collaboration of so many people, the writing codes and doing all of that. So I can make them learn in 3 months, but all these skills, I cannot make them learn in 3 months. It's just not possible. I think that's the reason why I stopped complaining about that VisionX is not growing because of Corona situation, COVID situation, and I thought I came up with this idea of discussing with professionals across the globe to share their ideas, because it's not only that we are gathered, we are learning from each other, it's also what our community will learn from each other. And I think this is a clear sign that you and me trying to project that we can even make the most of a pandemic situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think in every crisis lies an opportunity, and some of us choose to focus on the negativity, focus on the depression, focus on all that is wrong. And there are some of us like you, I think, who are finding the best ways to make the best out of a situation like this and finding solutions. I think that is the key, Pritam. I think I'm extremely happy to note that at such a young age you have taken upon yourself, and not just the fact that you've stepped into something on your own, but also the fact that you are invested in something that's going to make a larger difference to the society in terms of creating new leaders or imbibing those value systems in the current generation. This world is seriously short of role models. People have all the kinds of wrong role models to follow, because there is so much focus on negativity and wrongdoing, that some of this positive stuff, I think, will go a long way in changing that mindset. And I'm very, very happy and pleased to be associated with you. I only hope we get a lot more opportunities like this, and I'm very happy to share my experiences with the audience that there is. And I'm very, very happy to help. Thank you very much, Pritam. I think this has been a great opportunity, and looking forward to many more such engagements.
Thank you so much, sir. So what I will do I will in the description I will put your LinkedIn ID. I will put a LinkedIn link so that people can reach out to you at any point of time, so that they can get the help directly from you, so that the whole community can get benefited. Right?
Absolutely, more than happy to help in whatever way I can.
So thank you so much for your time, and have a great day ahead, sir. Thank you so much for joining with us.
Thank you, Pritam. This has been fun, man. Thank you.